God gave them a place. Adam had a pretty sweet gig, I think. You're over everything, take care of it. That's a good job. And his little wifey right there with them, and they got cast out of that. Now they got to fend for themselves. Things changed. But just as their eyes were open and they knew that they were naked, and all of a sudden that became a shame, well, some other things did. It said Adam would work from the sweat of his brow. Boy, you certainly miss a cake job when you have to actually go start working. I'm looking at my kids and I tell my son all the time, boy, you're going to miss all this. Because he's going to have to do something after he gets out of school. But the idea is right now they don't realize the cake job. You just got to take the trash out. That's nothing. And you get all-you-can-eat kitchen? Just for taking the trash out, you get your own bedroom for just taking the trash out. And I got to remind you to do that. Boy, I'm telling you, he's there in paradise right now. But when bills start coming in your name, boy, boy, boy. But I digress. Okay, so in Genesis, let's go to Exodus. Got to fast forward. Exodus chapter 3, verses 11 through 15. I'm fast forwarding here because you know between Genesis, where we were reading in 3, and Exodus 3, a whole bunch of stuff happened. For the purposes of this sermon, what I want you to remember that happened is by this time, Abraham's seed, remember Abram had to leave his dad's house and he was promised some things, but a whole thing's happened. We got an establishment of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by now. And this is the God of the universe, the creator of the universe is actually known by these pillars, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so years later, as the genealogy of the Hebrew people were always going back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we then look at them in bondage in Egypt. And in bondage, Moses was going to be their deliverer, and he was a little hesitant about it at first. But let's pick up that story at Exodus 3, beginning at verse number 11. Moses is talking to God. Listen to what he says. And Moses said unto God, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall we say unto them? Or what shall I rather say unto them? Verse 14 is key. He says, and God said to Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Your Papa? I'm just kidding. He said, did you guys know Popeye said this all the time? You think it was a spiritual reference to this? You never thought about it. All right. See, I think of a lot of stuff. I got a lot of time on my hands. Obviously, I am that I am, he said. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am, have sent me unto you. And God said, moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, The Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, have sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. What's the memorial? The simple fact that Moses was sent unto the children of Israel to remove them out of a place of sin. God was taking them out of sin, out of bondage. And so Moses, of course, looking at this huge feat before him, because obviously Egypt was the world power at the time. Pharaoh was running everything, and his word was bond. Moses knew all about it, grew up over there, and he was leaving. He was gone. He had a whole nother life, and then here comes God with this task. So he says, all right, I'm going to go to them. Let me get this story straight. I'm going to go to them, and I'm going to say, okay, the God of your fathers have sent me unto you, and we're going to escape. And he says, so they're going to ask me, what's your name? I bet Moses wanted to say a whole bunch of stuff, because you're going to see Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's all big, and I'm going to say, God, I am, said, let his people go. And what's going to be the response? Either laugh at you, Moses, off with your head, we caught you now, finally. You know, he was a wanted guy. You go to the post office in Egypt, Moses' picture's there. he had done some things he had no business doing, and well, they were kind of looking for him too, so he was hesitant on going back. So when you begin to see this unfold, I want you to see the picture of what God did and what he called a memorial. God said that I am going to deliver them. But before they would understand the power of deliverance, they had to be placed in bondage. You see, Abraham wouldn't get a lot of deliverance feeling. He believed and he trusted, but Abraham didn't need that. Isaac done a lot of things for the Lord. And he had his woes as well, but Isaac didn't need this bondage. Even Jacob, the manipulator, and Jacob did a lot of things, and he had his downs, his ups and downs, but he didn't need this bondage. God did some marvelous things with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and became well known. So the children of Israel, million, are there in bondage. 430 years of bondage. You think it mattered that they were going to be delivered? You think the message that Moses had wasn't a message that they had been waiting for? Wasn't a message of great anticipation because they had been telling the genealogies all this long? They had been connecting their greatness to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and now finally the deliverer is here. And of course Moses delivers them through the help of God. Magnificently. That whole Red Sea thing blows my mind still. Every time I read it. Powerful. Egypt has all its little crazy little tiki gods. God defeats every last one of them. It wasn't even close. And then he takes them out magnificently and promises a place for them that they would be. And part of that covenant was that they remained faithful to their God. And if they did that, he would forever be their God, and they would forever be his people. And their memorial was based on that. Are you with me? Okay, let's go to John chapter 8. John chapter 8 is one of the greatest debates in the Bible. It's in John chapter 8. I'm going to paraphrase most of this because it's hot in here. You make sure you read it. I'm going to paraphrase if you guys promise to read John 8. Will you promise to do that for me? Read John 8 later? All right. So I'm going to paraphrase some of this just so that we can get through it. So I want to get to the meat of where I'm going. So we see the setup in Genesis of where there was a need. The need came out of sin. We were sold into sin. The wages of sin is death. And guess what? Trouble was afoot. Adam and Eve were in trouble. They got kicked out, and everyone born of a man and a woman is now in trouble. But God always uses a physical substance to show you the spiritual substance. So when he started talking about them being in bondage, they had to physically be enslaved to get it. When he started talking about death, some of them had to die to see it. Why do you think they offered sacrifices of bulls and goats? The message God had for them was that some innocents had to die for your disobedience. The bulls and goats did no wrong. They were innocent. But an innocent is the only thing that could right that wrong. And for their time, all it did was cover it. And it was a safe covering, but that's all it was. No sin was taken away. It was just a covering. So we get to the New Testament. And Jesus, on the Mount of Olives, kind of does his thing here. He's preaching, he's talking. But the Pharisees show up. And there is this record with the Pharisees. I want you to drop way to the end of that chapter, because I want you to get the meat of the debate. Jesus starts talking to them. I have to read this part because it just reads better than me explaining it. I love Jesus' words. When they start talking about Abraham, because now when Jesus mentions Abraham, you have the Pharisees interested, because you know they've been telling the stories, and Abraham's our father, and we serve his God, and we're connected to all those people, and we're God's people. So since we're God's people, we're better than everybody else, and because we have a genealogy that goes back to Abraham. And if you don't have that, then you're not God's people, and I got to make you a proselyte. So you got to listen to what I say, you got to do it the way I say do it. You see where they're going? This was the Pharisees.